So I have a BMW R65 that I customised about 10 years ago, but there is one modification that I do regret doing.
So I was going to say we can all agree, but let's be honest, not everyone can agree on one thing. I think this bike does look incredible.
Yeah, I love it.
And I know it's not stock. So what did you change and why did you change it?
I've owned this bike for like 25 years, so I just wanted to mix it up a little bit. There was a bit of a cafe racer trend from about 2010. So what did we do? So there's a new paint job, new seat, new front brake disc, which was a major upgrade. I wanted a bit more stopping power. New caliper as well. Pods, got rid of the airbox, new shocks on the rear. Basically just stripped it down and turned it into I think a great looking little cafe racer. So the thing that I love about it is the looks. I think it looks stunning. Now, I didn't do the work personally.
Yep.
Ellaspede up in Brisbane did the cafe job on this one, and they've done so many beautiful builds, and particular BMW R Series builds. So I think they do some amazing work.
Yeah, I also think it just looks incredible. I also got to take it out for a bit of a ride recently.
First time you've ridden it?
First time, yeah. I gotta say, it has character.
Yeah. And
I think it's something you do have to get used to.
Very much so.
But that boxer engine, it does give it, quite a lot of character.
As I said, I've had this bike for 25 years. I love the character of the bike. It's a bike that I did actually debate. I was thinking I was going to sell it back in about 2014.
Yeah.
And I decided I couldn't sell it. I wanted to keep it. I was actually going to buy a brand new R9T. I still may one day buy a brand new R9T, but I just decided I wanted to cafe it and keep it, and I'm so glad I did. Yeah. So I love the looks of it.
Yep.
I love the style. I think they're just a stylish looking bike.
Yeah.
Either stock or custom like mine. I think a BMW R Series, they just look stylish.
Yeah.
But the key thing is that boxer character.
Yeah.
Like, it's just wonderful. And it's something you do get used to.
Yeah.
And it's something that, for me, when I jump on other bikes now, sometimes I think, oh man, there's just no character there. And boxers just have that in spades.
They certainly do.
So Ellaspede put a bigger disc on it and a bigger caliper, a Brembo caliper. So that was my one concern with that bike stock. Not that it's a powerful engine. I mean, the R65 as stock are only about 45 horsepower. So it's a learner legal bike. They weigh stock about 195 kilos. So they're not overly heavy, but I always found that the front brake just lacked a little bit of bite. So when I was doing this custom job, I said to the guys at Ellaspede, one thing I do want to do is upgrade the front brake. Just put a bigger rotor on it and a Brembo caliper. So we did that, and I think the front brake on it is excellent now.
Yep.
I put little Canon silencers on it, and I think they just look good and they sound wonderful.
It sounds great at a standstill, and it sounds great just flying down the freeway as well.
The R65 is a bike that actually really likes to rev out a little bit more. So most boxes, you sit at around that 2,500 RPM, and that's where they're comfortable. R65's probably around 3,500 to 4,000 RPM.
Okay.
And that seems to be its sweet spot. But
Yeah.
as I said, it's only a 45 horsepower bike. It's not a fast bike.
Yeah, I like how you told me that after I'd ridden it. Thanks.
Sorry about that.
So the main thing that I noticed in terms of thumbs down for this bike was the suspension, because boy oh boy did I feel every bump. Not in a good way.
So yeah, it is a firm suspension. So the rear's we upgraded the old shocks with icons, and they're set for me. So they're set for me with my weight. Yeah, it's firm, but that's the way I like it set up. So it was definitely going to be too firm for you. But I actually did notice my I've got a little bit of leak on the right fork. So I've got to fix that seal on the right front fork seal. There was just a little bit of oil on the front fork there, so I need to check that out. I just noticed that the other day.
So it wasn't me that did that.
No, I noticed it before we went out. It was only a little bit of oil, so I need to get that checked out.
Oh, okay.
Big issue with this bike, and it's always been the same, but it's something that I very rarely use, is the side stand. The side stand is woeful. It's one of those side stands, Teagues, what does it do?
Well, it's good when you're getting onto the bike because it just spring loads up. You don't have to kick it.
Yeah.
Great. But when you get off the bike...
It is nearly impossible to get the side stand down while you're sitting on the bike.
So you have to hold the bike, get off the bike,
Yeah.
and I used Ross to help me a lot just because I didn't want to risk dropping this bike. And then you have to hold the bike and then manually push it down with your foot.
I must admit, I always use the centre stand. I always just put it on the centre stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that solves that issue. I'll leave the side stand there, but, mate, I probably don't need it.
Yeah.
You had an issue with my indicators, Tegan.
Where's the... Oh, there we go. Okay, all right. Don't do it, Tegan. Don't do it. Hey, she's a bloody natural. I don't know how to turn my blinkers off, though. All right, I'm going to try a gear shift.
I think the entire time I was riding your bike, you in front was just doing this to me to remind me that I'd left the indicators on, because I didn't think at all that on your dash it shows if your indicators are still on.
It does.
It does, apparently, but only if you cover it with your hand so that there's enough shadow over it so you can see the very faint light lit up.
It's a Cafe Racer.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just part of the ride is just consistently having your blinkers on.
Part of the reason that is also I kept the original switchgear on the bike when I did the rebuild. So I mean, you got to remember, it's 41-year-old switchgear that still works.
I'm not used to riding old bikes.
So it is a little bit hard to. It's easy to turn on, but you flick it back and it doesn't always go all the way. So the indicator will say on, or you go too far.
Yes,
so
I've
quite
did that
often
many
I've been
times.
pushing it all the way and I'll be indicating right instead of turning it off.
I found the cheat code for that, which is literally you can see the indicators down next to the fork. So I just used that instead of trying to see if the light was on. Okay, so I know that there is one thing at the start of the video that you mentioned that you wouldn't change.
Yeah, correct.
So what is it?
Okay, so I love the look of the pod air filters on this bike. I think they look sensational. Ellaspede make this airbox cover. I think it looks brilliant. It just cleans up the whole back end of that motor. But the issue with putting pods on an Airhead is in its stock form, you've got a tube that comes out of the back and supports the carburetor to go into the airbox. When you remove that tube and put a pod on the back, all of a sudden, the only thing connecting the carby to the engine is your intake tube. And I've found many, many times over the last 10 years, I'm replacing those intake tubes probably every 12 months. They're just not, the carby's not supported as well as it should be. So I think they look brilliant.
Yeah.
But if I was to do another Airhead build like this, I would try and find a better solution to that issue. Having said that, the older ones than mine with the metal airbox cover, they look good.
Okay.
But it's this R series of mine, this A4 boxer of mine, and there's a few models with the same airbox configuration, which it's a bit plastic and ugly. So I love the look of it, but I probably wouldn't do it again just because of the issues with those carbies coming loose. And I've literally been riding a couple of times and the carby comes loose and starts falling off.
Glad that didn't happen when I was riding it.
No, I made sure it was all not on nice and tight. Look, it doesn't happen all the time, and it's something that I check every time I ride. I just check those the intake tubes to make sure they're good, but it's something to be aware of.
This is how you make me feel. This is how you make me feel.
So I know that pretty much nothing is left stock on this bike.
Switchgear is.
Apart from the switchgear. So are you planning to change that, or are there any other changes that you're planning to make?
No, I'm not going to change the switchgear. I quite like the older switchgear, even with the indicator issue.
Yep.
But the only other thing I'm thinking of is putting a Cyberrock big bore kit in it with the optional asymmetric camshaft, which will increase it to about 60 horsepower, I believe, from 45. Maybe it's 55. Yeah. I love the bike. It handles really well. It's great through the twisties. A little bit more power might be nice. And I know a lot of people will say, well, mate, if you want a more powerful bike, just buy a bigger bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. But I think it's, just another little change. I don't see it, I can always revert back to the original kit if I want to. I love old BMW Airheads. Doesn't matter if they're stock or custom. I think they're a bike with so much character. Now click this playlist over here to see some more boxes in action.